Nous sommes soldats,
combattants
pour crier
au nom de Jésus, nous conquérons.
Nous sommes
Vaillants,
c'est de la
parole au nom de Jésus, nous conquérons.
Nous sommes
Vaillants,
cités à dessein
au nom de Jésus, nous conquérons.
Nous sommes vaillants, cités à dessein
au nom de Jésus, nous conquérons.
Quels qu'ils soient les effets,
Nous conquérons au nom de Jésus, nous conquérons.
quels qu'ils soient les menaces,
Nous conquérons au nom de Jésus, nous conquérons.
quels qu'ils soient les mensonges,
Nous conquérons au nom de Jésus, nous conquérons.
quels qu'ils soient l'adversité,
Jésus, nous conquérons.
nous sommes vaillants, cités à dessein
Au nom de Jésus, nous conquérons.
Nous sommes vaillants, cités à dessein
Au nom de Jésus, nous conquérons.
Nous sommes vaillants, c'est de la parole
Au nom de Jésus, nous conquérons.
Nous sommes vaillants, cités à dessein quels qu'ils soient les mensonges, quels qu'ils soient les menaces, quels qu'ils soient l'adversité, quelles que soient les persécutions, nous sommes vaillants, suscités à dessein,
au nom de Jésus, nous conquérons.
nous sommes vaillants, c'est de la parole
Au nom de Jésus, nous conquérons.
nous sommes vaillants, suscités à dessein,
au nom de Jésus.
Prenez garde à vous-même, de crainte que vos cœurs ne s'appesantissent par les excès du manger et du boire et par les soucis de la vie, et que ce jour ne vienne sur vous à l'improviste. car il viendra comme un filet sur tous ceux qui habitent sur la face de toute la terre. Veillez donc et priez en tout temps, afin que vous ayez la force d'échapper à toutes ces choses qui arriveront et de paraître debout devant le Fils de l'homme.
Et je vis sortir de la bouche du dragon, et de la bouche de la bête, et de la bouche du faux prophète, 3 esprits impurs, semblables à des grenouilles. Car ce sont des esprits de démons qui font des prodiges, et qui vont vers les rois de toute la terre, afin de les rassembler pour le combat du grand jour du Dieu Tout-Puissant. Ils les rassemblèrent dans le lieu appelé en hébreu Armageddon. Puis, je vis monter de la terre une autre bête, qui avait 2 cornes semblables à celles d'un agneau, et qui parlait comme un dragon. Elle exerçait toute l'autorité de la première bête en sa présence, et elle faisait que la terre et ses habitants adoraient la première bête, dont la blessure mortelle avait été guérie. Elle opérait de grands prodiges, même jusqu'à faire descendre du feu du ciel sur la terre, à la vue des hommes. Et elle séduisait les habitants de la terre par les prodiges qui lui étaient donnés d'opérer en présence de la bête, disant aux habitants de la terre de faire une image à la bête qui avait la blessure de l'épée et qui vivait. Et il lui fut donné d'animer l'image de la bête, afin que l'image de la bête parlât, et qu'elle fit que tous ceux qui n'adoreraient pas l'image de la bête fussent tués. Et elle fit que tous, petits et grands, riches et pauvres, libres et esclaves, reçussent une marque sur leur main droite ou sur leur front, et que personne ne put acheter ni vendre sans avoir la marque, le nom de la bête ou le nombre de son nom. C'est ici la sagesse. Que celui qui a de l'intelligence calcule le nombre de la bête, car c'est un nombre d'hommes, et son nombre, c'est 666.
The very people who are still working on this project, they're collectivists, the very wealthy people. They're the ones in this country who dominated the powerful tax-exempt foundations, like the Carnegie Endowment Fund for International Peace, the Rockefeller Funds, the Ford Foundation, and groups like that. These people were on record, even way back then, that they had to have a new world government, and they dreamed of that being embodied in the League of Nations. And they were solidly behind it. And that was one of the reasons those people encouraged the United States into World War I, was because of the crisis of World War I, and that would also condition Americans to thinking of making big changes in their system, because we certainly don't want another war like that, do we? There's that fear angle again. And they thought, well, by being in World War I, then we would be a major participant at the table to carve up the world and create a new world government. And that was to be the League of Nations. Well, what happened to it is that the American people didn't really go for it.
Wilson was aware of the elite and their control over society. In his book, The New Freedom, published in 1913, he discussed such a group. Since I entered politics, I have chiefly had men's views confided to me privately. Some of the biggest men in the United States, in the field of commerce and manufacture, are afraid of something. They know that there is a power somewhere so organized, so subtle, so watchful, so interlocked, so complete, so pervasive, that they better not speak above their breath when they speak in condemnation of it. Ultimately, this insight did not spare him from becoming yet another puppet of the global elite.
In all of the British dependencies, these organizations, the front groups, were called the Royal Institute for International Affairs. In the United States, they chose a different name. They chose the Council on Foreign Relations, but it held exactly the same relationship to this inner society of Cecil Rhodes.
Among the charter members were W. Averell Harriman of Union Banking, then President of the United States Woodrow Wilson's main advisor, Colonel Edward Mendell House, John D. Rockefeller, the founder of Standard Oil, banking mogul J.P. Morgan, and prominent bankster Paul Warburg.
Well, the Council on Foreign Relations exists today. It's probably the most powerful single organization in America. Many observers, including myself, believe that it is the hidden government of the United States. These people are not elected to office, and most Americans don't even know who they are. But they are holding all of the important positions in society. There are only about 4,000 of them in the United States, but I don't care what organization you want to look at, whether it's government, or whether it's universities, or the large media centers, or whatever it is. You look at the people at the tops of those organizations, the owners, the managers, the CEOs, the board of directors, and I'm going to say probably 80 to 90% of the great power centers of America are dominated by just those 4,000 people who are members of the Council on Foreign Relations.
Throughout its history, it would contain extremely influential and powerful individuals in finance, business, media, and politics. Former presidents of the United States include Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, and William Jefferson Clinton. Currently, Barack Obama claims not to be a member, but has spoken in front of the Council and has had his writings published in the Council's magazine, Foreign Affairs.
It's been reported that you and your wife are in the globalist CFR, which is the Council on Foreign Relations. I'd like to know if that is true.
Well, first of all, I'm not the Council on Foreign Relations. I don't know if I'm a official member. I've spoken there before. It basically is just a forum where a bunch of people talk about foreign policy, and so there's nothing. There's no official membership. I don't have a card or, a special handshake or anything like that.
Now, why is that important? It's important because the avowed purpose of the Council on Foreign Relations is to create a new world order, a global government based on the model of collectivism. And that includes the elimination of the United States as a sovereign nation. That's why it's important. The people running this country are determined to destroy it.
The Council was heavily criticized during the 1980s for being an organization hell-bent on destroying national sovereignty in favor of a world government. So many of its members hid their association with the organization. Dick Cheney had this to say in response to a question by David Rockefeller, who became the CFR's youngest director in 1949 and was chairman of the board from 1970 to 1985. He remains an honorary chairman to this day.
It's good to be back at the Council on Foreign Relations. As Pete mentioned, I've been a member for a long time and was actually a director for some period of time. I never mentioned that when I was campaigning for re-election back home in Wyoming.
Now, you are the president of the Council on Foreign Relations, all right? Yes, sir. You guys toy with countries of the world like toys, don't you? You're like the Illuminati, you're the Masons, you control everything, don't you? That's the rap on you guys.
What's so interesting now, though, is who's on the chessboard. It's the toys, if you will, are a lot more than states.
Notice that Mr. Haas does not deny that the CFR has massive control over the geopolitical arena, and instead tries to focus on the separate entities outside of nation-states. Current Secretary of State Hillary Clinton also reveals the importance of the CFR here.
But it's good to have an outpost of the Council right here down the street from the State Department. We get a lot of advice from the Council, so this will mean I won't have as far to go to be told what we should be doing and how we should think about the future.
You have these private groups that are run and created by the elite, by the ultra-rich, wealthy families that have been manipulating global markets from behind the scenes for generations. They create these private groups that then feed information to the government, to senators, to congressmen, their recommendations, their policy papers, what they think should happen. And it's fascinating because if you actually read what it is that they're doing, the recommendations that they make, they're very able to get them put in place. discussions that are going on in these private groups are really talks that should be going on in Senate committees and in the halls of Congress, but they're happening with these ultra-elite groups that are then pushing their propaganda into the political mainstream, and then it's becoming enacted, it's becoming put into law.
Still not convinced the CFR is promoting a new world order? Listen to what Leslie Gelb had to say upon leaving the New York Times to chair the organization as its president in 1993.
I loved it. Doing a column is a great job. I'm going to an equally great but different job, and in a way a job that caps everything I've been doing in my life, in government and academia and in journalism. I think that's what the Council on Foreign Relations will allow me to do. Well, you know, for example, you had me and 3 or 4 other folks on this show a few months ago to talk about the New World Order, right?
Exactly.
Right?
Bob
I talk
Hormats
about
and
it,
you,
exactly.
Right.
I talk about it all the time.
New World Order wants a global system where one small central authority of individuals can then dictate a policy that's going to be distributed down to the rest of the world, everywhere, in the smallest little town in the middle of nowhere in some remote country.
I now think it's safe to say that the Council is extremely influential on the world stage and openly promote global governance. The Council and the globalists were able to take this agenda to the next level following World War II. The United Nations was born out of the ashes of this conflict. Unlike the League of Nations, the United States not only joined this organization, they championed it.
First book I wrote was The Fearful Master, a second look at the United Nations. It was written at a time when it was not popular to be critical of the UN. I mean, the United Nations was viewed by almost everybody as our last best hope for peace. It was a means, we were told, to bring humanity together and put an end to war and live in peace and harmony and promote trade and all of these good things. I wish it were any of those things, but it's not.
The original charter for the United Nations was drafted in San Francisco in 1945, and the United States became a permanent member of the Security Council, along with France, the United Kingdom, the Soviet Union, and the Republic of China. The process by which other nations' belief systems could be used to erode and eviscerate our Constitution and Bill of Rights had taken a giant leap forward.
The United Nations is one of the most well-known sort of globalization attempts. Its primary goal is to streamline all the governments of the world, to create a global council and to unify all the rules and all the regulations for the world. So it's essentially the precursor and an engine of this new world order.
The United Nations is made up of all of the countries of the world, most of which are dictatorships of one kind or another. And you don't take a bunch of dictatorships and put them into a bag and shake it up and come out with a freedom-loving governmental unit. You come out with a global dictatorship.
This was the public base of global governance. However, many other organizations have been birthed since.
Even more suspect is a private group called the Trilateral Commission.
David Rockefeller and Henry Kissinger are among its some 300 influential members.
The Trilateral Commission, rich and powerful business and political leaders from Japan, Europe, and North America, the New York-based policy group was formed in 1973 by Chase Manhattan Bank Chairman David Rockefeller. In addition to Rockefeller, there are many other noted American members. Among them, economist Alan Greenspan, former Defense Secretary Harold Brown. George Bush was once a member but resigned last year before his unsuccessful presidential campaign. Back then, it wasn't politically wise to be aligned with what his party's right wing considered a shadow world government.
The United Nations would take over America. The Trilateral Commission would control the world. Just look at its membership, they say. Current and former members include Presidents Clinton, Bush, and Carter. Names like Brzezinski, Christopher, Kissinger, and Schultz. And top executives of ITT, Xerox, Exxon, and Nations Bank.
Although this group with only 300 members seems to be at the apex of the power structure, there is yet another group formed in 1954 that is even smaller in number and has a greater influence on world events. Meet the Bilderberg Group. This elite group meet annually around the globe. There is a core group of members who have attended every year for decades, such as David Rockefeller, Henry Kissinger, and Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands. These members invite others who are politically and socially relevant at the time. Each year, around 140 people are in attendance.
Real quick, I'd ask you this question. In 2004, you attended a meeting in Italy called the Bilderberg Group. I just want to know what you were doing out there, what that was all about. If she lied to me and told me she didn't go, I figured you might tell me the truth.
All I did was go. They had a Republican and a Democrat. Republican was... I gave like a 20-minute talk on the presidential election.
You didn't have anything to do with being John Kerry's running mate? Did you talk about that at all?
No, because I wasn't his running mate.
Okay.
I happened to be in Europe then on my way to Russia. I was invited to go to Bilderberg by Vernon Jordan, a friend of mine and a genuine hero of the civil rights movement. And to the best of my knowledge, NAFTA was not discussed by anybody in my presence.
Documents released by the group in 2001 revealed that in September of 1955, the group met in Germany and covertly outlined the idea of a European Union. Section E, European Unity, discusses the general support for European integration and unification, and the idea to unify Germany once again with the rest of Europe under a common marketplace. Belgian Viscount and current Bilderberg chairman Etienne Davignon told the EU Observer in 2009 that the next Bilderberg meeting could improve understanding on future action in the same way it helped create the euro in the 1990s. This illustrates the patience, vision, and reach of this organization. It was able to promote and establish both the European Union and a European currency over the course of just under 40 years, incrementally.
One of the things that the elitists discussed back at the turn of the century when they were talking about how do you convert the United States into a collectivist system was the fact that you can't do it quickly. You have to let people get used to it incrementally, because any major change would be rejected.
The 1957 Conference of Rome, where the Common Market Treaty, providing for free trade in all products, was at last signed. 6 nations, France, Germany, Italy, Belgium, Holland, and Luxembourg, agreed to remove all mutual barriers to trade within 12 to 15 years, the embryo of a political union which they proclaimed to be their ultimate objective.
In that fashion, it's possible for people to get used to this process. And
Là, le Saint-Esprit ne sera plus sur la terre. En ce temps-là, il ne sera plus sur la terre. J'ai commencé à avoir un trafic énorme. J'ai commencé à avoir des accidents. Toutes les personnes qui étaient appelées avant, il me dit, ils chercheront la mort, mais la mort ne sera plus. La mort ne sera plus dans ce temps-là. Et précisément, j'ai commencé à voir que là, il y avait des personnes amères. J'ai commencé à voir comment circulaient des revues qui disaient « Des millions de personnes ont disparu ». Beaucoup de ceux qui savaient que Christ venait pour un peuple saint et aussi ceux qui avaient connaissance de sa parole pleuraient dans les rues. Il y en avait tant, mais ils ne pouvaient rien faire. Et le Seigneur ferma l'écran et il me dit « Je viens là chercher un peuple saint. Je viens bientôt chercher mon Église. Veille sur ce que tu fais pour accomplir ce que je t'ai demandé. Dis à mon peuple que je reviens d'ici peu. Dis à mon peuple que je reviens déjà. » Le Seigneur me dit, dis à mon peuple que je reviens déjà et que je viens pour un peuple saint. Dis à mon peuple que c'est seulement les saints, c'est seulement les saints qui me verront. Le temps est proche. Le Seigneur a permis de signaler et révéler à l'humanité ce qui arrivera. Aujourd'hui, c'est le temps du salut. Que tu invites ta vie à ton unique sauveur, Jésus. Prends ce temps de choisir ta destinée. La vie ou la mort. Le ciel ou l'enfer. Jésus ou le diable. C'est très clair. D'appartenir à Dieu ou d'appartenir au diable. De faire le bien ou de faire le mal. Ton choix sera ta destinée. Vie éternelle ou étang de feu. Réfléchis. Fais le choix. Décide maintenant. Jésus-Christ est mort sur la croix pour chacun d'entre nous, pour nos péchés, et nous a donné l'opportunité d'être sauvés par sa miséricorde. Accepte Jésus comme ton unique sauveur. Tous l'ont écouté et l'ont vu. Que ce moment, vous le viviez comme un appel. Ne vous condamnez pas pour l'enfer éternel.